Oh, hey guys, JanitorJoey here. Just thought I'd try something a little different, do a little vlog style video. The Keeley Awards, or should I say the Game Awards 2017 were just announced today. All the nominees are here, and I thought I'd do a sort of vlog podcast style video. I'm a verbal processor, so I'm gonna probably just be talking to myself about these anyway, so I might as well record it for posterity and see what you guys think, if your opinions line up with me or you want to hear any of my thoughts about Game of the Year. I probably won't do a video like last year talking about my favorite games of the year, but this year was insane. During this video, I'll go back. I've been going back and playing through some of my favorites this year. I looked through the list of 102 games that were nominated this year. I've played over 10% of those games, which doesn't sound like a lot, but looking back at previous years, that is very impressive for me. I usually don't play more than 10 games in a given year, and this year was all killer, no filler. There's plenty of games on this list that in any other given year, I would have died to have played, but we'll get into that as we go through the list. So yeah, you'll be seeing footage from some of the games that I own that I can record, just playing through some of my favorite moments. They start you off here at the Game Awards website, and starting off with Game of the Year, this is a great list of contenders. I was looking back at previous years. Last year in particular had Overwatch was the winner for Game of the Year. So Game of the Year is just too hard to pick right now. I couldn't possibly have that be the very first thing I'm presented with. So we've got Breath of the Wild, a masterpiece, Super Mario Odyssey, probably the best Mario game ever made, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, cultural phenomenon, huge meme game. No, it's definitely not up my alley, but I like its inclusion here. I think that's a really smart pick. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to this over the other games on the list, so glad to see it's represented here. Persona 5, one of the best RPGs I've ever played, and Horizon Zero Dawn, one of my most anticipated games of last year. It was just such a big year. I didn't have time to devote to it, and I was intimidated by the gameplay. So, Horizon, you're on my short list of games to get around to if 2018 doesn't pan out the way it's looking. But even in the first month of 2018, I've got Xenoblade 2 and Ni no Kuni 2 back to back, so I think I'm going to be set for the first couple months. So we'll see. So right off the bat, of the Game of the Year list, 3 out of 5 ain't bad. I've watched a lot of PlayerUnknown's Battleground, and Horizon Zero Dawn is just a gorgeous game. Brand new IP, I'm so glad to see it getting recognition. Horizon is just all over this list, so I'm sure it'll win tons of stuff. There's definitely some categories that I'm hedging to give it an award to, but as someone who hasn't played it, I can't give it that Game of the Year. So I think we'll save Game of the Year for the end of this video, and maybe my opinions will have swayed as I kind of work through and process my opinions on some of these games. But just to reiterate, Game of the Year, we've got an epic, long action-adventure game from Nintendo. We've got a more concise platformer, fun, all-ages Nintendo game. We've got a massively multiplayer online, even early beta, open world tactical, slow-paced, crazy shooter, a big Atlas RPG, turn-based RPG, and then a AAA new IP shooter RPG hybrid. This is such a good spread. There's something for everybody on this list. This perfectly encapsulates what a year we've had. Can't go wrong with any of these picks. I'm definitely leaning towards one or two, but we'll come back around to it. So then we get Best Game Direction. Sounds like a pretty vague description here. Awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So basically just best gameplay or game gimmick, game feel. Last year they awarded it to the studio for the game, and this year, I guess because we have 2 Nintendo games, they're awarding it to the games specifically. But we had Overwatch, Battlefield 1, Doom, Uncharted 4, and Titanfall 2. Just a bunch of shooters. Just kind of Battlefield and Titanfall, kind of samey looking. Doom is obviously kind of out there. Uncharted, a big, a lot of sequels. And so Overwatch wins for being the new IP. Here we've got some iterations, but a lot of departures. I think Wolfenstein 2 is probably the safest bet. Obviously, I haven't played Wolfenstein 1 or 2, The New Order, but from what I can tell, seems pretty similar, pretty on point with the latest Wolfenstein game. So I don't feel the need to award it anything. Okay, so we've got For best game direction, we've got Wolfenstein 2, Resident Evil 7, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and Horizon Zero Dawn. So already 3 out of the 5 are already in game direction, which speaks lengths to the kinds of games those are. Those are big, crazy new games, worthy of being in this category, but doesn't make my decision any easier. I'm tempted to give it to Resident Evil 7 in a way. I haven't played that game. I never will play that game in VR or otherwise, but I've seen at least 2 full playthroughs of that game, and I can tell you that I'm very happy with where the series is going right now. As far as survival horror goes, I think Resident Evil 7 really encapsulates like where the medium should be going now. I know some people will say that Evil Within 2 is a superior survival horror game. Definitely emphasis on the survival with limited open world and crafting and stuff like that. I think scares and atmosphere, 7 just nails it. I think it's great. Such a good sign for the franchise moving forward. So I'm tempted to like reward them for their bold choices, but Breath of the Wild, another bold choice. Game direction, that whole game is game direction. And I'm the kind of person who wants to weigh everything in a way that's like, okay, everybody's getting like equal share, like if one video game is only nominated for 1 award, then I want to give it that chance to win an award and not just be like, oh, Breath of the Wild wins 5 categories just because it's Breath of the Wild. Honestly, Breath of the Wild, I love you. You're no great Zelda game in my eyes. You're a great game, not a great Zelda game. A game that's just like super fun to run around and mess around with, but like so is Odyssey. I think Odyssey is like a blast. Probably the most fun I've had all year. Just like minute-to-minute gameplay. Very few points where I was frustrated or bored. I like was able to complete it in 40 hours. That's another thing. I 100% completed 3 out of the 5 best games of the year. So I think I deserve to have an opinion on this category. But we're taking too long. Game direction, creative vision, innovation in game direction and design. I don't think any game was stretching it like Breath of the Wild is. Breath of the Wild is such a departure. Even comparing it to its inspiration, to its contemporaries, Skyrim, like GTA, I don't know, like open world games, like nothing is doing Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is its own thing. I'm sure it will spin off imitators, but it deserves like, if not game of the year, then definitely like game direction was a good choice. I'm just hoping that they expand on it in the DLC or a future sequel to really capitalize on like what the Zelda feeling I think was really missing from Breath of the Wild. But great game direction. Like I have very few complaints about how the game plays. Best narrative. Now I'm totally in the weeds. Right off the bat, I played a lot of good games with good stories. I think Persona 5's got a great story. Some of the other like little games, I'm working my way through Fractured But Whole. I don't think that really fits this category of like somber, story-driven stuff here. What Remains of Edith Finch, just like a walking simulator, interactive story, versus Nier Automata, like really high concept, questioning the meaning of life, philosophy kind of stuff. Can't speak really to the story. Senua's Sacrifice is another cool one that I'm seeing a lot of. Definitely like technically looks really cool. Saw that it got pretty decent reviews. Definitely not the kind of game that interests me in the slightest, but I'm sure like the storytelling techniques of portraying someone who's like got insanity, probably really interesting and engaging. I don't know if I could give it best narrative. I guess narrative is kind of like a loose term. It talks about storytelling and narrative development. Wolfenstein 2, again, like pretty straight story. I mean, it's just sort of like a hero's war story. Probably does it pretty well. Probably incorporates a lot of interesting mechanics into the storytelling, but doesn't really stand out to me as like a great story. But like I've heard great things about Horizon's story. That's like apparently that's a story that you can really care about the characters. You can buy into like this post-apocalyptic world with this like future tech meets kind of like caveman society, like really interesting setting. I bet has like a really compelling narrative. As far as games that like haven't been represented in other categories, I want to give it to Edith Finch, because Edith Finch has like a really interesting like The whole thing is about little vignettes. So like if you don't like one story, you're probably going to like another one. So I'm tempted to give it to Edith. Edith or Nier. You know, I won't think about it too much. I'll give it to Edith because I know I'm not going to give it a vote in any other category. So congrats, Edith. Good story. All right, best art direction. Now we're back in my wheelhouse. Outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. First off, Destiny 2. Just generic sci-fi mumbo jumbo. Everybody's wearing a mask. Do not care for it. Maybe the most technically impressive on this list, but it's just a bunch of robots and aliens. Do not care for it. Then we got Cuphead, another game that I completed this year. Definitely another like standout favorite of mine, highly anticipated. So glad I got to play it on PC. Was one of the most fun experiences I've had this year. Definitely one that I was sad to be done with as soon as I was. So art direction, like clearly like right up its alley, high contender. That game is all about the art. Gameplay, not so much. I wouldn't say it's like the most deep game or the best game of the year, but art direction is definitely its strong point. Breath of the Wild looks gorgeous. There's a lot of cool design, but you know, it starts to get kind of samey. It's only impressive for so long, and I don't think it'll end up being like the most remembered for its art style. Because I'll tell you, like, Wind Waker HD still boggles my mind. I guess once they come out with Breath of the Wild, HHD, or VR, or whatever the next leap will be, then we'll start talking. But in comparison to Cuphead, I would rather give it to Cuphead. Horizon Zero Dawn is on here again. Really cool character designs, really cool world. The monster, dinosaur, robots, really creative, really well done. Just on a technical level, like everything is so polished and crazy detailed. Art direction is definitely a strong point. And then Persona 5. When I played Persona 4 for the first time like 4 or 5 years ago, I thought it was just the most stylistically beautiful, interesting, compelling game I'd ever played. I just was in love with it. Just like moving between menus was so snappy. The music and the art and the character designs, I was just like, I'm in an anime right now. This is amazing. And then Persona 5 rolls around and completely blows 4 out of the water in every way. This game is so stylish. It's overly stylish. I don't think they could top this. It would be such a cluster if they tried to overdo this design. Like everything has just got this really cool, sharp motif to it. Everything is poppy and stylish. Like the whole game is about being this roguish, man of the people, underdog story, and everything is just this grim noir, hyper stylized, beautiful game. I really want to give art direction to Persona 5, but again, Cuphead is just like in another stratosphere. I think this game needs to be like shouted from the rooftops, like anybody can appreciate this art style. And the fact that this was all like hand-drawn art and they spent so much extra time perfecting it, adding to it, honing it, it definitely deserves art chops. So I'm going to give it to Cuphead. Best music and score. So last year, they put score and audio together in one category. And so there was like Inside was nominated for best music sound design, which is like, that game has no music. So I'm glad that they separated it into audio design and score. Destiny 2, Cuphead, again, great score. Like the art and the music, hand in hand, great stuff. Nier Automata, I have no idea. Probably pretty good. Breath of the Wild, really minimal. There's some catchy songs, but definitely like most of the good songs are just remakes of older songs. Super Mario Odyssey, a lot of toe tappers, a lot of fun stuff. I don't know if they'll like go in the upper echelon of like Delfino Plaza, Peach's Castle kind of stuff, but you know, it's good. It's great. So another category that's like neck and neck, Cuphead and Persona. Persona 4 was like on my iPod for years. It was on my Zune, should I say. It was on my MP3 player for years. I would re-listen to that soundtrack over and over again. My copy of the game came with its own little CD of music. So I definitely like have strong liking of the Persona soundtracks. And Persona 5 has definitely got some great ones, but not any ones that I've like gone out of my way to acquire just to listen to, partially because I don't listen to music that much anymore. But Cuphead is like another weird one where it's like, it's big band tracks that like are super interesting and exciting in the moment, but I don't know if I would listen to it outside of the experience. So I guess the music in Cuphead is more integral to that game than the music in Persona 5 is. The music in Persona 5 is great, but I think like music and art in Cuphead go hand in hand. Although I think I'm gonna give, like, I'm spoiling a little bit here, but Cuphead will show up in a couple of extra categories. You know what? I'm gonna give music to Persona because I would listen to Persona's music outside of the game, and Cuphead's not so much. Great soundtrack all the same though. Audio design. Destiny 2, I don't know, like the guns sound guns? I don't know. Recognizing the best in-game audio and sound effects. Senua, I don't know. Now, then we've got Resident Evil, Breath of the Wild, and Odyssey. For audio design, like, I guess audio is better in Breath of the Wild than music is, but I don't know. Odyssey, you got a lot of wahoos. There's good wahoos. Princess Tiara has the cutest voice of any game character I've ever heard. She goes, Kiape! Kiape! She's got like this little French accent, so that might win it. But I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil 7 on this one, because that is another game that's just like oozing with great sound design. Like that's like integral to the experience is the sound design. Because I'm not gonna give it my vote anywhere else. Props to you, Resident Evil 7. You get sound design. Best performance! I actually haven't seen any of these performances. I've seen clips of the characters in all of these games. We've got voice actresses for Senua, Nadine and Chloe. We've got BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein and Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, these are probably all fabulous actors and actresses. Everybody's got their like nice, portrait mugshots. And then good old Melina Jorgens here has just got like her mocap scary face, which I love. I definitely appreciate that. But I gotta give it to Ashley Birch. Like, I've been a huge fan of hers forever, and I didn't realize that she was the voice actress for Aloy, as well as like a bunch of other great characters. She's just super cool. Big fan. I gotta give her props. Any Ashley Birch nomination, I gotta give her props. All right, Games for Impact. Another one that I'm like totally in the dark, so I'll kind of knock through these real quick, which, funnily enough, is Please Knock on My Door, Night in the Woods, Life is Strange Before the Storm, Bury Me, My Love, Edith Finch, and Senua. Now, I haven't played any of these, and I've only seen stuff for Edith Finch, Night in the Woods, and a little bit of Senua. The original Life is Strange is pretty cool. Never played it. Never even heard of Knock on My Door and Bury Me, My Love. So I already gave Edith Finch the narrative one. The Games for Impact category is about thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. In the past, there was That Dragon Cancer. No, that's a recent category in the last 2 years. So I don't know. I think I would give it to Night in the Woods just because that's like a really cool, stylish game that I think has some mass appeal, but definitely like deals with like some pretty cool issues. Just from like what I know, something that would like appeal to my demographic. I know I'm talking in very vague terms because I don't have the knowledge to really speak on it. I think it deserves to get something. All right, best ongoing game. This is just like the games that have already won awards. Actually, most of these haven't. Once we get to eSports, then we'll get the games that have already won things. Outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Warframe, I feel like, is just like gone. It's kind of dead now. Rainbow Six Siege, I know, has like a pretty dedicated fan base. Overwatch is still friggin' huge. GTA Online is friggin' huge. Destiny 2 and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, they're all friggin' huge. PlayerUnknown's is kind of weird because I think it like still technically hasn't come out yet. Am I right? Maybe it just came out on consoles and it's like in sort of a weird beta. I don't know what they're going to add to it. It's such like a minimalist game. GTA Online obviously like has all sorts of crazy updates, and Overwatch is still trucking. Overwatch really swept last year, and I think it's got a good contender for best esport, at least most interesting esport to me. I don't know how people like judge esports. I guess looking at like competitive level, like what's the most interesting meta or has like the most engaging community. I don't know where, but we're talking about ongoing games. GTA Online, I just don't have a strong opinion about any of these. So I'll say GTA Online because it's not in any other category. That's a boring one. Best mobile game. All right. So best playable on a dedicated mobile device. So they've separated mobile and handheld this year. Last year, Pokemon Go, I think, won. Yeah, Pokemon Go won mobile handheld, and there was only one Nintendo handheld game on that list. Well, actually, Generations. Where was that? Generations must have been on DS. Previous years, it was always mobile handheld. So we've got Fire Emblem Heroes, which I play every day, which I think is great. Super Mario Run, which is just like a weird, watered-down Mario game that sucks. And then we've got 3 games that I've never heard of. So we'll give it to Fire Emblem Heroes. Great. I'll have to check out these other ones. Old Man's Journey, Monument Valley 2, and Hidden Folks. Looks like Where's Waldo in a coloring book. Alright, best handheld games. Some other games that I'm pretty familiar with. Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Meh, skip it. Monster Hunter Stories. I haven't even seen reviews for this game yet. Samus Returns, I know people like that game alright, but I have no interest in playing it. The new Fire Emblem, Shadows of Valentia. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get into a main series Fire Emblem game when I've got Heroes. That's just so much more accessible and easy to do and is always expanding. But Ever Oasis was one of my favorite games this year. It was so good. I mean, it's not a perfect game. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 in a review that I wrote, or maybe I gave it an 8.5. I had a lot of complaints with it, but it's just such a beautiful game. Talk about art direction and music and game design. That game explores a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of reasons to play that game. If you have a 3DS, please consider it. Ever Oasis is a gem. I'm sure that'll be a cult classic, and I will return to that year after year. Very good game. Definitely getting my vote. What a way to end the 3DS's life, presumably. I would love to see an Ever Oasis sequel on Switch. That would be incredible, but I don't know. Whatever Grezzo does, Grezzo do what Grezzo does. Best VR or AR game, augmented reality. For the best experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. So I have never tried VR. Played a couple of AR games. They're just kind of not much to talk about. As far as I can tell, between Superhot, Star Trek Bridge Crew, Lone Echo, Farpoint, and RE7, I think Superhot has got to be it. Although Superhot has been around. I think Superhot is a 2016 game, at least. Star Trek Bridge Crew is just a glorified lobby where you just sit in a chair. Not super interested. Lone Echo Arena is a weird sports game. I don't even know what Farpoint is. That looks crazy for a VR game. And then playing through RE7 with VR is intense, but doable. But from what I've heard, Superhot is the VR game to play. So I want to give it to Superhot, especially since, again, it's not in any other categories. Best action game. So now the only game that I've played on oh wait, no, we got Neo on this list. Hell yeah. Spoilers. Neo is the best action game. So we got Prey, Neo, Destiny 2, Cuphead, and Wolfenstein 2. Obviously, I love Cuphead. Great action game focused on combat. So I mean, that's it. It's a boss rush game. Cuphead is a great action game. You should play it. But Neo, this is the only place that Neo is on this list. Neo is an incredible, feudal Japan Dark Souls with crazy Onimusha combo-centered combat against crazy yokai monsters. It is fabulous. I need to start playing that DLC. I haven't even finished the Dark Souls 3 DLC. I'm terrible at finishing DLC, but I'm good at buying DLC. So best action game, Neo, don't even need to talk about it. Haven't played the other 3, not interested. Action adventure game. Kind of spanning the gambit here. We get this is the first category that Lost Legacy gets nominated other than voice performances, which is interesting because usually Uncharted games sweep these categories. I know Uncharted 4 took a bunch of awards last year. But we've got Assassin's Creed Origins, which is just the new Assassin's Creed. Nothing much to say about it. And Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, and Horizon, the old standbys. Now they define action adventure as combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, which I never really thought about before. And why I think action/adventure is kind of a weird category, because I guess one doesn't really exist without another. But I think adventure game, there's no platformer category. There's just not enough platformers in a year to make it worth having a category unless it was just a bunch of weird indies. You get SteamWorld Dig 2 as a platformer or something. So I want to give it to Odyssey for action adventure, just because I think it's the most tight combat traversal puzzle solving game that I played this year. I think Horizon is a good candidate if you've played that game, like all for it. And then Breath of the Wild, like that whole game is just adventure. And the puzzles are good. The puzzles are a strong point. And I guess the puzzles are more of a strong point in Zelda than they are in Mario. Oh, I want to give it to Mario though, because I don't think I'm gonna give. Okay, these are the hard decisions. They keep making me make the same hard decision. Not that they're separating the hard choices, they're just making me make the same choices in different categories. So I gave game design to Zelda, so we'll give action adventure to Mario. All right, best role-playing game, designed with rich player character customization, progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. So we've got South Park, Fractured But Whole, Final Fantasy 15, Divinity Original Sin 2, Nier Automata, and Persona 5. So actually seeing like more great games that just didn't make the cut. Obviously South Park is kind of a niche thing. I think it's really fun. I think it's really funny. Good story, great characters, great art direction. I think Stick of Truth got some awards last year. Definitely for like voice acting it got an award, and maybe it was nominated for some other stuff. Or actually Stick of Truth might have been 2 years ago. 2015? Okay, yeah. Stick of Truth got best performance in 2014. It was probably nominated for something else. Maybe it was nominated for RPG that year. And then like Final Fantasy 15, like big budget Final Fantasy game, didn't make the cut. Nier Automata, still like great game from what I can tell. Divinity Original Sin 2, here's another one. This is like another like small ecosystem of like, even in just one genre and just in role playing, the top 5 are a like story-driven comedy tactics RPG versus like a big AAA epic fantasy RPG, like real-time action, versus a Diablo top-down D&D story-driven RPG versus like a bullet hell crazy Platinum Games action RPG versus a classic turn-based stylized story RPG. Like running the gambit, there, like if you're an RPG fan, there's something for you in 2017. Check all of these out, but I gotta give it to Persona 5. Like easy pick. Fighting games, totally not in my wheelhouse at all. ARMS getting the pity nomination for the Nintendo representative. Definitely like a cool gimmick, cool aesthetic, great characters, great everything, like marketing. It made me interested in the game, but just it comes down to gameplay and ARMS does not have it. It does not have the legs. So we got Tekken 7, Nidhogg 2, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and Injustice 2, and ARMS. Nidhogg 2, another like kind of jokey, kind of pity vote. Fighting games, not a lot of fighting games come out every year, so you gotta fill the roster somehow. From what I can tell, Injustice 2 is like the superior fighting game for fans of fighting games, and it's got a lot of superhero characters, like it's got mass appeal. Doesn't influence me at all. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, like in other years probably would have taken it because Marvel vs. Capcom is just crazy, stylish, wackadoo characters, but I hate the art style, so I'm gonna have to give it to Tekken 7. No offense. And now we've got Best Family Game, which should just be called the Best Nintendo Exclusive Mario Game. We got 3 Mario games here: Splatoon 2, Sonic Mania, Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Super Mario Odyssey. So when I think family game, so the category is appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Like appropriate for family play. Like I think of like party games, I'd want to put like Jackbox on this list. I don't know, you like play Mario and Rabbids with your family? Like them just like hanging out? There's only 2 multiplayer games on this. Maybe you can do Mario Rabbids co-op, and you can technically co-op on Odyssey and maybe on Sonic Mania, but like those are like single player action games. And I will not give an award to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for anything, because while I think Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart ever, and probably my favorite racing game I've ever played, it won Best Family Game in 2014, and it also won Best Sports Racing Game of 2014. Like, you can't win Best Family Game 2 different times, 3 years apart, just because you slap some DLC on it. You're not gonna get it. Splatoon 2, I want to give an award to because I think it's great. I think it's a really cool improvement. There's a lot of great quality of life upgrades. It's just better all around. If you have a Switch and you like Splatoon, get it. You can't really play couch co-op with Splatoon. You're just like watching them play it. So like, I guess I'll give it to Mario Odyssey because as far as like, yo, mom and dad, come sit on the couch and watch me play this thing, like, Mario Odyssey is probably the game that I will show to my children and get them into Mario. Like, it's an all ages experience, irrespective of genre or platform. Then we got Best Strategy Game. Not a genre that I'm too fond of, but we've got XCOM 2, which I didn't even remember XCOM had a sequel that came out this year, so long ago. And then we got Tooth and Nail that I've never heard of. It's got these like mice warriors. And then we've got Total War Warhammer 2, where a guy is riding in a rat. Something about 2017 and rat strategy games was a thing. Halo Wars 2, didn't remember that came out. And then Mario and Rabbids. From what I can tell, I don't know about 4 of these games. So I'm gonna give it to Mario because, like, who'da thunk they'd have a good strategy game and it wouldn't be awful. Alright, sports and racing. I do not care. We've got 3 car games, 2 soccer games, and 1 concerned-looking basketball player. I just don't care. I'm just basing it off of, like, reviews that I've heard. Like, nobody's playing, like, Pro Evolution Soccer 2018 or FIFA 18 that I know. NBA 2K18, like, J-Witz is into. Like, I don't care. I'll give it to Project Cars 2. There you go. Enjoy my vote. Best multiplayer. Alright, so now we've got some actually interesting choices here. I've heard good things about Fortnite. I might check it out at some point. Although it's on PlayStation, so I don't have PlayStation paid online. Call of Duty World War II, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Destiny 2, and PlayerUnknown. So PlayerUnknown I kind of want to give for best multiplayer because it's such a cultural phenomenon, and voting for Splatoon 2 would just be like throwing away my vote. Obviously, again, Mario Kart 8's not getting my vote. It's a good game, works well on Switch. I don't care. I only bought it because that was what I had to buy to get my Switch. So between Splatoon 2 and PlayerUnknown, I'll give it to PlayerUnknown just for like the cultural touchstone, the cultural significance. That game is all multiplayer all the time, so good on you. You did something right. Most anticipated game is kind of a rough one too. An upcoming game that has shown significant ambition and promise. The title must be announced and scheduled for release after December 7th, 2017. So it's kind of a bummer because, like, yes, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 comes out December 1st, 2017, and then Ni no Kuni 2 comes out technically after this deadline, but they're so, like, on the horizon. They were scheduled for this year, and they've got just barely pushed back. So they don't quite make it on here. Those are the only games on my radar. So Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World, Marvel Spider-Man, and God of War. Like, I probably won't play any of these games, to be honest. I'll probably watch coverage of Last of Us, maybe watch some Easy Allies play Marvel, Spider-Man. But I guess of those 5 games, I'll give it to Monster Hunter World because I've always been kind of intrigued by that series, but I don't like playing it on the 3DS. I wanted to get Tri for the Wii U, but I just never got around to it. So maybe Monster Hunter World is the time where I'd finally dip my toes, and that seems like a pretty, like, good departure from where the series has been, and it looks friggin' gorgeous. So fingers crossed that one's gonna be good. Now we got Best Independent Game. So we got some could have had some cool inclusions, but it's mostly stuff we've already seen. Night in the Woods, Edith Finch, Senua, Cuphead, and Pyre. Pyre is kind of a cool story-based sports fantasy game, like kind of a weird mashup, really cool art style. This category is for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, which I think is a funny way of wording that. But, I mean, no brainer, gotta give it to Cuphead. I really hope Cuphead wins Best Indie. That studio needs to, like, make their money back. And now, we've got Best Student Game, which you're not actually allowed to vote on, it looks like. There's a panel of judges that will vote on the Best Student Game, projects created by high schoolers or college level students. But I've never heard of any of these, so it wouldn't make any sense for me to vote on them anyway. Now for Trending Gamer, for a streamer, influencer, or media member who has made an important impact on the industry this calendar year. I don't know any of these guys except for Clint Lexa, or Half Coordinated. Really cool guy. speedrunner who's only got one usable hand, and he like has to like claw grip his controller in this really weird way. He's this crazy speedrunner. I saw him at this last AGDQ. Really cool. Or I think he was at maybe it was at SGDQ in the summer. But half coordinated, really cool guy, really fun personality, especially doing speedruns. Like, good on ya. And now we get to just nothing. I'm honestly just going to skip through esports. Like, esports, I don't care. I'm going to give it to Rocket League because it's just like, I feel like for the foreseeable future, this award will go to League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, and Overwatch. Those are like the 4 to beat. And it's just going to rotate in a random like guest star. And I'll just always vote for the guest star because like, who cares? Best esports player. Like, I don't know who any of these guys are. We just got like a Dota guy, 2 CSGO guys, an Overwatch guy, and a League of Legends guy. Like, exactly. Like, where's our Rocket League guy? Who's the best Rocket Leaguer? I would have voted for him. I guess I'll go with this Overwatch guy. He looks cool. I would vote for Stir. I would vote for Star underscore as my esports guy. And then esports team. I don't even know what these teams are, what they play. But just going by logo and name, I would vote for Cloud9. Definitely a cool logo. Sounds awesome. But they won last year. So let's give it to Team Liquid because they've got a horse as their logo. Great. Now we're back in the good stuff for one last category, because then we've got Best Chinese Game. The most popular game in China as judged by the Game Awards viewers in China. And like all of these games are like weird, ugly ass mobile games. Like I don't even know what I'm looking at in some of these thumbnails. These are terrible. This JX3 HD is like the only game that looks like an actual game. It looks like a weird World of Warcraft kind of game with a lady standing on a pagoda. All right, so the last one is the best debut indie game presented by Schick Hydro. We already did the indie games, but this is debut indie games. Why is it different? Who knows? All of these other games, all the other independent games, Pyre, Night in the Woods, Edith Finch, and Senua, are all debuts, but they're not presented by Schick Hydro. Schick got to pick their own games, which is fine because they're more games that I even know about. One of the other games that I actually own is Hollow Knight, which I'm really looking forward to getting into. The Joseph Anderson video got me really hyped to try this one out. So I'm going to give it to Hollow Knight. But Slime Rancher, Mr. Shifty, and Golf Story all look really cool. Slime Rancher is just such a weird pick. And Golf Story too. Like, I would have seen, I guess because it's debut, you couldn't see like SteamWorld Dig 2 wouldn't be on here. But yeah, give it to Hollow Knight. Whew, alright, we made it. We made it through. This took way longer than I thought it would, but I'm glad you guys were all here with me. Wait a minute, just kidding. We've got to pick our game of the year. Drumroll, please. Oh boy. Well, I thought I would have a stronger opinion after doing all that, but I honestly don't. I've given awards to all 5 of these in some way or another, I think. Actually, I didn't give Horizon anything specifically other than voice performance. I couldn't possibly give it to Horizon, and I won't give it to PUBG because I haven't played those games, and I have 100% completed Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, and Persona 5. So, merits of Breath of the Wild. Definitely, like, highly anticipated game. All 3 of these were, like, highly anticipated for me. But if we have to match, like, anticipation versus what we got, Breath of the Wild definitely, like, dipped the lowest from what I expected it to be. I had the most disappointments with Zelda. Maybe not the most criticisms, but, like, expecting a Zelda game and not getting the Zelda game that I wanted. I think if they iterate on the formula of Breath of the Wild, we could see, like, a new era of Zelda masterpiece games that everybody loves. But in its current state, I don't think it's got enough going for it that it's going to be even in the top 3 of my favorite Zeldas, personally. Super Mario Odyssey, again, probably the most fun I've had all year. It's also like the freshest on my palate, which helps a lot. A really satisfying length, like a really doable 40-hour completion for a Mario game. That's really dense. It's got a lot of fluff, for sure, but there's so many good ideas, so much character. Game looks gorgeous, it feels great. Just watching like speedrunners pick this game apart, there's so many little mechanics and secrets, stuff that you wouldn't even think of. It's just a masterpiece. As far as I'm concerned, Breath of the Wild is not going to be remembered in the higher echelon of Zeldas, but Odyssey will absolutely, like, Odyssey is solidified my favorite Mario game right now. that I've completed, my favorite Mario game to date. But then Persona 5, right around the corner, probably like second or third RPG that I've ever played. It's that good. It's got great characters, great story, great style, great music, great gameplay. So addicting. It's so dense. It sucked up like 2 straight weeks of my life and never let go. But as soon as I finished it, with a lot of other RPGs, as soon as I hit the end credits of a big RPG like that, it just evaporates from my brain immediately. Didn't leave as much of an impact as I thought it would. Persona 4 left a bigger impact on me, even though I think Persona 5 is a better game on every feasible level. They made it so much more enjoyable, just the minute-to-minute gameplay, but it didn't resonate with me as strong as Persona 4. So they kind of like even out that way. So I think Mario Odyssey is a safe pick for Game of the Year. I think a lot of people will agree. I think that's probably the title to beat this year. And honestly, I think, appropriately enough, I think Persona 5 is the underdog in this scenario. And it's going to be really interesting. I want to give it my support and see it be like the rebel that rises to the top. I don't think as many people have played Persona 5 as have played Odyssey, or definitely like PlayerUnknown Battleground. But like density wise, I kind of like, I thought about this going in, and I want to give it to Persona 5 just to make a statement, because think about the Academy Awards or the Oscars or what have you, like an official awards ceremony. We're talking about like film of the year. My favorite movie might have been Napoleon Dynamite, but I'm not going to give film of the year to Napoleon Dynamite. It might have been the most fun. I might remember it more fondly. I might return to it more frequently, but Game of the Year has some like clout to it. It's got some weight. And I think Persona 5 is a fuller, deeper experience that deserves a title like Game of the Year in 2017. The Year of Greats will go down in history. Stiff competition. Again, any other year, any of these 5 games could have won in my book, but stacked up like this, I gotta give Persona 5 my vote. Whew, okay. Well, thanks for sticking around if you did. If you like this kind of ranting video, maybe I'll do more in the future. It's good to kind of verbally process this stuff. I mean, I'll do it anyway. I'll talk to myself as much as I want. You can't stop me. But until next time, take care and remember to keep it clean. I'm trying out a new sign off. And remember folks, keep it clean. Until next time, JanitorJoey out.